Coming up on 5 Minute News. Supreme Court Justice fails to disclose luxury trips. Report blames Trump for chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal. And Israel stages unusual airstrikes upon Lebanon. It's Friday, April 7. I'm Anthony Davis. Far-right Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has for decades accepted luxury trips from a Dallas businessman without publicly disclosing them, despite a federal law requiring disclosure of most gifts, a media report said yesterday, prompting Senate Democrats to call for an investigation. The report by ProPublica found that Thomas has repeatedly vacationed with real estate magnate and Republican donor Harlan Crow, including on his private jet and super yacht in the United States and around the globe. The news outlet said the frequency of the gifts have no known precedent in the modern history of the U.S. Supreme Court. The report raises new questions over potential conflicts of interest involving the justices and the court, which has endured escalating criticism for its lack of a formal ethics code. Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Dick Durbin said his panel will act based on the report without specifying what steps it would take. The highest court in the land shouldn't have the lowest ethical standards, said Durbin. Durbin said the justices must be held to an enforceable code of conduct like other federal judges who are instructed to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Democratic U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse said this cries out for the kind of independent investigation that the Supreme Court, and only the Supreme Court, across the entire government, refuses to perform. The ProPublica report is the latest revelation to prompt ethics concerns about Clarence Thomas. Previous reports of his wife Virginia Thomas's involvement in efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, along with her husband's decision not to recuse himself from election-related cases, raised questions about his judicial impartiality. Thomas, perhaps the court's most right-wing extremist member, joined the bench for a lifetime appointment in October 1991, after being nominated by Republican President George H.W. Bush. Joe Biden's administration released a summary of classified reports yesterday that apportioned blame for the chaotic August 2021 U.S. pullout from Afghanistan on Donald Trump for failing to plan for the withdrawal he had agreed on with the Taliban. The summary, drawn from top-secret State Department and Pentagon reviews sent to Congress, ignited angry reactions from Republican lawmakers who have demanded the documents for their own investigation of the pullout. The document acknowledged that the administration learned lessons from the withdrawal and now errs on the side of aggressive communication about risks in a destabilized security environment. The withdrawal that ended America's longest war saw tens of thousands of Afghans, desperate to flee a return of hardline Taliban rule, besiege Kabul's international airport, some handing their babies to U.S. troops or breaking in and hanging onto aircraft. The Trump administration also gutted refugee support services and virtually halted the processing of special immigration visas for thousands of Afghans seeking evacuation because they worked for the U.S. government, leaving a massive backlog, the summary said. Transitions matter. That's the first lesson learned here, and the incoming administration wasn't afforded much of one, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told a White House briefing. Israel struck targets in southern Lebanon early this morning and resumed airstrikes in the Gaza Strip, the Israeli military said, marking a further escalation in the region following violence this week at Jerusalem's most sensitive holy site. The military said it targeted installations of the Palestinian militant group Hamas in southern Lebanon. The Lebanese TV station Al Mayadeen reported explosions in the southern port city of Tyre. The strikes in southern Lebanon came after militants from Lebanon fired nearly 36 rockets at Israel on Thursday. Meanwhile, Gaza militants resumed rocket fire towards southern Israel early this morning following Israeli attacks there. The fighting comes during a delicate time when Jews are celebrating the Passover holiday and Muslims are marking the Ramadan holy month. Similar tensions spilled over into an 11-day war between Israel and Gaza's Hamas rulers in 2021. The current round of violence began on Wednesday after Israeli police twice raided the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City. That led on Thursday to rocket fire from Gaza and, in a significant escalation, an unusual barrage of nearly 36 rockets from Lebanon into northern Israel. As Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened his security cabinet for a 3-hour meeting late on Thursday, his office put out a short statement saying a series of decisions had been made. Israel's response, tonight and beyond, will extract a heavy price from our enemies, Netanyahu said in the statement, but did not elaborate. Almost immediately, Palestinian militants in Gaza began firing rockets into southern Israel, setting off air raid sirens across the region. The rare attack from Lebanon raised fears of a wider firestorm as Israel's bitter enemy, the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah, holds sway over much of southern Lebanon. You can subscribe to the 5-Minute News Patreon for bonus videos, commentary, and more. Go to patreon.com/5minutenews.